A real estate agent enters an empty house and uncovers a demonic secret within. The film begins by showing a beautiful woman named Leigh who works as a real estate agent. With her friendly and outgoing personality, she often interacts with many people, making her successful in selling houses to her clients. Despite her career success, Leigh still lives alone and has never been married. The only close family she has is her younger sister, Vera. Unlike Leigh, who is sociable and enjoys meeting people, Vera is introverted and prefers to spend time in her own imaginative world. She has no interest in getting married or having children, but she has built a career as a talented artist. She creates various artworks from her imagination and sells them to those who appreciate her work. Unlike Leigh, who lives in a regular house, Vera resides in a spacious art studio where she can freely express her creativity. Although their personalities are opposite, the two sisters share a close bond. Occasionally, Leigh visits Vera's studio simply because she misses her and wants to spend time together.
It's cute. Talking about, look, we're perfect.
One day, during a visit to Vera's studio, Leigh receives a phone call from a married couple named Chuck and Royanna, who ask for her help to sell their private home. As a professional real estate agent, Leigh cannot refuse such an opportunity. Reluctantly, she says goodbye to Vera and quickly leaves to meet the clients who are waiting for her arrival. Before Leigh leaves, Vera asks her to attend her upcoming art exhibition, which will be held the next night. Leigh promises that she will come to the event.
See you later, okay?
Following a gunman held up inside his house.
2 decades, more and more families are...
On her way to meet Chuck and Royanna, Leigh decides to stop by the house they want to sell. As the couple instructed, the key was placed under the front mat so she could enter and inspect the property before their meeting. Upon entering, Leigh walks around, examining every corner of the house. The place is quite spacious, though some parts appear neglected. As she explores further, she notices several belongings left behind. One particular item catches her attention, an old wardrobe. Curiosity drives her to open it, and to her surprise, Leigh finds $500 inside. However, she resists the temptation to take what isn't hers, closes the wardrobe, and continues her inspection. While walking through another room, she notices black marks on a door that look like fire damage. Not far from there, a mirror stands in one of the rooms, seemingly abandoned. As Leigh gazes at her reflection, a woman in a red raincoat suddenly appears behind her. Without saying a word, the mysterious woman walks away from Leigh. Leigh tries to follow her but quickly loses sight of the stranger.
Still believe in that. I know I can get you.
After completing her brief inspection, Leigh finally meets Chuck and Royanna. As they sit down together, the couple explains that they are forced to sell the house due to worsening financial difficulties. Chuck has recently lost his job, and the house is their only remaining asset. They hope it can be sold within the week to help them overcome their economic struggles. To determine a fair selling price, Leigh needs to conduct a full inspection to ensure whether the house is in good and livable condition or not. When Leigh asks about the leftover items in the house, Chuck explains that since they bought the property in 1988, those things have always been there. They have no intention of taking any of them. Leigh then asks further whether there has ever been a fire in the house. Chuck honestly admits that there was indeed a room that caught fire a few years ago due to the negligence of their daughter, Charlene. Even so, Chuck actually doesn't want to sell the house. For them, the house is not just a property, but a part of their life's memories, a place where their daughter grew up. Hearing this story, Leigh tells them that she saw a woman inside the house. At first, Chuck and Royanna don't believe what Leigh says, since their daughter Charlene ran away from home several months ago with her boyfriend. However, when Leigh describes the girl as having short hair, they start to feel anxious. Leigh explains that she tried to talk to Charlene, but she simply walked away without saying a word. After hearing that, Chuck and Royanna immediately go to the police station to report that their daughter, who has been missing for months, might have returned without their knowledge.
I think she stopped by this morning. She came in when I was there.
Charlene? Petite, short hair.
Yeah.
She's a great kid. And then just something happened.
After meeting with the couple, Leigh feels the need to clear her mind and takes a moment to visit a church to pray. Despite her busy life as a real estate agent, she never forgets her faith. The calm atmosphere inside the church helps her feel at peace. That night, while Leigh is having dinner alone at home, the power suddenly goes out. When she turns her gaze, her eyes fall on a photo of Vera when she was a child. Without any clear reason, the glass frame of the photo suddenly cracks. The next morning, despite the heavy rain pouring down on the city, Leigh continues her duty as a real estate agent. This time, she is responsible for conducting a detailed inspection of Chuck and Royanna's house to determine its condition before being listed for sale. Before starting the inspection, she takes a moment to call Vera, letting her know that she might arrive late to the art exhibition because of work. However, she promises to come as soon as she can.
I'm so sorry. I think I'm gonna be late tonight.
I'm not, Leigh, for the 100th time.
I'm stuck in this inspection.
After finishing the call, Leigh begins to carefully inspect the house. She brings old documents related to the house's history that she previously obtained to help her better understand the property's background and condition. While exploring the house, she checks the basement to ensure the electrical system is still functioning properly. Suddenly, Leigh is startled by the sudden appearance of Charlene. Leigh tries to talk to her, but the girl walks away again. Not wanting to lose sight of her, Leigh quickly follows and manages to catch up. Seeing Charlene soaking wet, she grabs a cloth to help warm her up. At that moment, Leigh notices Charlene holding a roll of money worth $500. Seeing her in such a pitiful state, Leigh feels sorry and cannot bear to leave her alone in that house. Therefore, she decides to call Vera, but Vera cannot be reached. Leigh leaves a voice message saying that she won't be able to attend the art exhibition tonight because she needs to stay at the house to help a woman who seems to be in trouble. Besides contacting Vera, Leigh also calls Chuck to inform him that she has found Charlene. However, Chuck delivers shocking news. Charlene has actually been found by the police a few hours earlier at a shopping mall. If Charlene has already been found, then who was the woman Leigh saw? Confused by this statement, Leigh turns toward the woman, only to realize in horror that she has vanished from her seat. Realizing something is terribly wrong, Leigh quickly opens and rereads the old documents about the house. That's when she discovers a shocking fact. The woman she saw earlier wasn't Charlene, but a girl named Hannah, who committed suicide in the house in 1987. Although initially doubtful and unwilling to believe the documents, Leigh searches for the woman by checking every room. Eventually, she finds her standing in an empty room, staring into a mirror. When Leigh tries to speak to Hannah, she is suddenly attacked by something unseen, causing her body to convulse violently before dying instantly. Elsewhere, Vera, who has been eagerly waiting for Leigh's arrival at her art exhibition, begins to feel anxious as her sister still hasn't shown up. She has tried calling Leigh multiple times, but her calls go unanswered. Even after the exhibition ends, Leigh never contacts her. That night, Vera finally falls asleep with an uneasy feeling. In her sleep, she has a terrifying nightmare. She sees Leigh floating in the air, warning her that the entity is searching for a new body. Vera wakes up in confusion, unable to understand what her sister's words mean. Shortly after, Vera receives a call from the hospital informing her that Leigh has died from a heart attack. Shocked by the news, Vera is immediately filled with disbelief. Her sister's death feels too sudden, and what's even stranger is that there is no history of heart disease in their family. Everything feels suspicious, as if something much darker is at play. Vera then remembers the voice message her sister had sent earlier. In that message, Leigh mentioned a woman who seemed to be in distress, the same woman she encountered during her house inspection. Determined to find answers, Vera decides to search her sister's car. Inside, she finds a small piece of paper containing an address, the same address of the house Leigh was inspecting before her death. Following the lead, Vera drives to the location, hoping to uncover the truth behind her sister's mysterious death. When she arrives, the house is completely dark. Through the dim light, Vera spots a woman wearing a red raincoat inside. But as she tries to approach, the woman vanishes without a trace, leaving only the red raincoat lying on the floor. Moments later, Vera hears a strange, unsettling voice. As she follows the sound, she is horrified to see a terrifying figure standing before her. Overwhelmed by fear and confusion, Vera calls Chuck to ask for answers about the bizarre occurrences in the house. Yet Chuck admits he doesn't know much about what truly happened. The only clue he can give her is the address of his daughter's current residence. Charlene, the girl who had run away from home for months, never told anyone what she saw in that house. Without wasting any time, Vera goes to meet Charlene, hoping she can provide the answers. When they finally meet, Charlene reveals the real reason she fled from that house. For years, she had been haunted by the presence of a woman who constantly watched her and followed her everywhere she went. That woman was none other than Hannah, the spirit who likely lingers in the house. But Hannah wasn't the only one. Charlene also admits she was often tormented by a male ghost whose appearance turned her nights into living nightmares. Fed up with everything, Charlene eventually ran away from home with her boyfriend and never came back, not even telling her parents the real reason she left. When Vera asks who Hannah truly is and what her connection to the house might be, Charlene only has one clue. She tells Vera to look for a woman who appeared in the background of Hannah's photo in an old newspaper article about Hannah's disappearance. Charlene is convinced that the woman is the key to understanding what really happened.
He was just standing over us, and he was finding the girl next to her, her friend.
Without hesitation, Vera decides to find out who that woman is. After hours of searching, she finally discovers the address of the woman and learns that her name is Jennifer. Upon arriving at Jennifer's home, Jennifer tells Vera that Hannah was her best friend. Before Hannah died by suicide, she had been pregnant. Many people believed that her pregnancy drove her into despair, leading her to take her own life. However, Jennifer insists that Hannah had never made love with any man. Hannah once confided in her that her pregnancy was not something natural. She claimed she had been impregnated by a demon. The demon, according to Hannah, had an evil plan. It wanted to use the body of Hannah's unborn child as a vessel so that it could be born into the human world and live among humans. Jennifer then shares Hannah's past with Vera. It all began when Hannah started dating a new boyfriend named John. One day, John introduced Hannah to an old man who lived in a car. The man was known as someone who could grant large sums of money to anyone willing to sell their soul to the devil. Legend said that by surrendering their soul, a person would instantly receive $500. Hannah, who didn't believe in anything supernatural and thought it was all nonsense, became intrigued by the offer. To her, it was just a strange joke that could earn her easy money. The old man began a bizarre ritual and instructed Hannah to say her own name at a crossroads, an act that would draw the demon's attention and introduce her to it. Though skeptical about anything mystical, Hannah still followed his instructions purely to get the promised $500.
For the left-hand path. So he knows your name when he calls for you.
Hannah.
But from that moment on, strange events began to plague her life. It started with hearing an unseen voice calling her name, wardrobe doors creaking open on their own, and even attacks from an invisible force.
Come to me.
Terrified, Hannah tried to get rid of the money given by the old man by burying it in her yard, hoping the disturbances would stop. But every time she buried it, the money would always return to her. Even when she tried to burn it, the money would reappear, completely intact. Hannah began to feel like she was losing her sanity as the strange occurrences continued to torment her. Driven to the brink of madness, she became so desperate that she even neglected her job as a babysitter. Her mother came into her room to remind her that she had to go to work. Hannah then forced herself to continue her job, going to the home of Davis and Becky, who had asked her to watch their baby Lucilla while they attended an office party. However, instead of doing her job properly, Hannah showed up at the party in a dazed and disoriented state.
Hey, come on in.
Sometimes it slips inside me. There she is.
She told Davis and Becky that their baby was dead. Panicking, the couple immediately rushed home to check on their child. Fortunately, they found Lucilla safe and sound, lying behind the wardrobe. Meanwhile, Hannah returned home completely out of her mind. She kept hearing voices calling her name over and over until she could no longer bear the madness. In the end, Hannah took her own life. The figure Vera saw in the abandoned house was not Hannah's spirit, but the demon itself, disguising its form as Hannah. Jennifer explains that Hannah's death was not the end of everything. The demon that impregnated her is still searching for a new vessel to inhabit. Since Hannah was gone, the demon now needed another body to take over. Jennifer warns Vera to stop digging into her sister's death, fearing that Vera might become the demon's next target. Vera thanks Jennifer for the information and decides to return home, as it is already late at night. While Vera is fast asleep, something terrifying happens. The demon attacks her and throws her out of the window, causing her to fall from a great height. She is immediately rushed to the hospital in critical condition. Her severe injuries leave her unconscious, with multiple broken bones and a serious head injury that puts her in a coma for 8 months. When Vera finally awakens from the coma, she finds herself lying in a hospital bed, her body still weak. The doctor in charge approaches her and explains her condition. Besides the serious injuries that kept her in a coma for 8 months, the doctor informs her that she is pregnant. Shocked, Vera insists that she has never made love with anyone. The doctor explains that her pregnancy is already 8 months along, exactly the same amount of time she was in a coma. Instantly, Vera remembers everything that happened before she lost consciousness. The demon had impregnated her and kept her unconscious for 8 months so she wouldn't be able to terminate the pregnancy. Horrified and refusing to carry the child, Vera begs the doctor to perform an emergency C-section immediately to remove the baby from her body. The baby was finally born healthy through surgery at Vera's request. However, after giving birth, Vera refused to see the child. She didn't want to hold, name, or even touch the baby. To her, that child was never a part of her life. Without the slightest hesitation, Vera decided to give the baby up for adoption. A few days after the delivery, a woman named Sarah, who had long wished for a child, came to adopt the baby. Meanwhile, as Vera's health improved, she left the hospital and moved to a new place, hoping to forget the horrifying events that had happened to her and start a new life. Six years passed. A little girl sat in the living room watching the news about a massive flood that had struck a nearby region. Seeing this, her adoptive mother Sarah told her not to watch the news. The little girl didn't respond. Instead, she changed the TV channel without even touching the remote. Sarah then told her daughter that they were expecting a visitor. Without being told who it was, the girl seemed to already know. Moments later, their visitor arrived. It was Vera. Sarah warmly welcomed her in and left the two of them to talk, their first meeting after so many years.
I know she made a deal. You told me I was crazy. After she killed herself, you had nowhere to go.
But Vera's visit wasn't just to check in. She came with a dark purpose, to end everything once and for all. Vera knew that the little girl was no ordinary child. She was the demon who had long desired to live among humans. Feeling responsible for what had happened, Vera knew she had to stop her before it was too late. Determined, Vera decided to kill the girl. She chased the child as she tried to escape until finally Vera managed to corner her. Just as Vera was about to strike, the girl's eyes turned pitch black. With terrifying ease, she used her powers to control Vera's body, making it impossible for her to move or attack. Realizing that her attempt to kill the child would only end in failure, Vera made a desperate decision to take the girl with her. Her reason was clear: to ensure the demon could not cause chaos in the human world. By taking her away, Vera believed she might someday find a way to defeat her. Meanwhile, Sarah, the girl's adoptive mother, was left in confusion, searching for both Vera and the child who had vanished without a trace. And with that, the story comes to an end.